As this Zero Hedge article hilariously says, Baltimore Mayor bolts, Pugh missing after FBI IRS raid. And this is a huge story hitting headlines everywhere, guys. And as it goes into, Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh has gone missing after the FBI and IRS raided her home, according to Baltimore CBS affiliate WJZ. Jason Bentley, Pugh's spokesman, told the Associated Press on Thursday that he has no clue where the mayor is, while her defense attorney, Steve Silverman, routed calls to her voicemail. Talk about a crazy story, and we'll get into Baltimore in general in a moment, but just like these criminals in government, this organized crime cartel we call government, is like, even they are getting busted by the government. The government is collapsing, guys, because they're fighting with each other and clashing. And this article mentions that she is at a home but isn't mentally stable enough, or is, as it says, Pugh is not mentally or physically able to make any decisions, Thursday, according to Silverman. So, she apparently just got over pneumonia, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, she's a mayor of Baltimore. We can say a lot about Baltimore, but let's get into some of these other articles here. And if you're wondering why there's underwear ads everywhere, it's because I've been looking for theft-proof underwear for Africa. So there's a bit of an insight into the complete recognition by, Google and knowing exactly how to target me with ads. Anyway, Baltimore paying total of more than $685,000 in salary for Mayor Pugh and her 6 staffers on leave. And as this article goes into, it was from April 18th, so it's a little old, but it goes into the context here. Democratic Mayor Catherine Pugh of Baltimore is on paid leave, as are some of her highest ranking and closest associates. Overall, their annual salaries add up to at least $685,800. The city has not explained why the mayor's 6 staffers have been placed on leave. Ex-officio mayor Bernard J.C. Jack Young, nice name there, a bit long, has said he has not fired anyone and can't talk about personal decisions, but aims to provide stability and continuity of government. Oh, great, that's what we need, more government, more continuity of this organized crime racket we call the state, stealing people's money and plundering people into debt servitude. And anyway, as it continues, here's a look at who is on leave, since when, and how much they're being paid. And it shows Mayor Catherine Pugh took office in December 2016. She put herself on leave April 1st when she announced that she needed time off to recover from pneumonia. The mayor receives an annual salary of $185,000. Her illness and absence from office followed the revelation last month that she had a no-bid deal to sell her Healthy Holly children's book series to the University of Maryland Medical System, where she had been on the board of directors since 2001. She also sold the book to businesses that had contracts with the city. So there's something that is a good influence on children. Not only criminality of being a politician and stealing people's money to further her own goals and completely stealing people's money to fund crime, but also hardcore crime in selling a children's book and pay for play type stuff. That's fun. As this continues, Bruce H. Williams began working as Pugh's chief of staff January 1st. Young Democrat put him on leave Wednesday. His salary wasn't immediately available. The previous chief of staff, Kimberly R. Morton, was paid $183,300 a year. Williams has a background in information technology, including 30 years with IBM Corp. Good, a CIA corporation. That works with government perfectly. Makes sense. Karen R. Stokes, Director of Government Relations for the city, joined Pugh's staff the day after the mayor's inauguration. Young placed her on leave Wednesday. Stokes made $156,743 last year, according to city records. Stokes, an attorney, lobbies the city council and General Assembly on behalf of Pugh's priorities for Baltimore. Stealing more people's money. Oh, here's an ad. Okay. Get out of here. All right. Afra Vance White, the city's director of external relations, was placed on leave last week by Young. Vance White began working for Pugh days after the mayor took office. Vance White's annual salary is $117,300. Pugh and Vance White are co-owners, along with city comptroller Joan Pratt, of Two Chic Boutique, a consignment store in the Pigtown neighborhood. Pigtown seems like a good area for politicians to hang out. Poetry Deal, that is a crazy name. Poetry Deal is on leave as of last week. She is Stokes' deputy in the government relations office. She joined city government in January 2017 and is paid $100,000 at $737 a year. And Gary Brown Jr. also was placed on leave last week from the lobbying office by Young. Brown who also started working for Pugh as mayor days after she was sworn in, makes $62,220 annually. So that's not actually that much. Brown, Deal, and Vance White have close ties to Pugh outside of their roles in city government. A page on a website for the Maryland Center for Adult Training, a nonprofit job training program once led by Pugh, listed the three as of March 6 as members of the center's board of directors. The city awarded the center a contract worth $28,649 over the past 2 years to pay for training regulated by the Maryland Higher Education Commission. Stephanie Hall, a staffer on the Baltimore Women's Commission, was also placed on leave. She joined city government in March 2018 and is paid $63,800 a year. Hall was Pugh's campaign chairwoman from 2001 to 2003. Any salary is a lot when it comes from taxpayers, by the way. But anyway, it's a huge, huge story that is plaguing Baltimore right now, and is just more examples of the criminality of the state. The idea that these complete mafiosos can get away with murder, can get away with stealing people's funds, can get away with getting special favors behind closed doors, then blaming corporations for their, lack of morality, and, standing on their high horse, looking down at the public as if they, these politicians have the moral high ground to dictate what's morally right for them to do. It's so absurd. They put in all these laws, they regulate, they tax, they destroy small businesses, they prop up major monopolies. They have these pay-for-play operations, allegedly. It goes without saying, though. It's a total house of cards on crack, guys. And these people are thrown in prison for victimless crimes. You can't defend yourself properly in Baltimore. The gun laws are absolutely ridiculous. And then we got stuff like this, which I can't go without mentioning out of this Vice article. Baltimore cops carried toy guns to plant on people they shot. Trial reveals. One officer involved in the city's massive corruption scandal said officers kept the replicas in case we accidentally hit somebody or got into a shootout so we could plant them. And this is nothing new, guys. The police, the government henchmen with shiny badges that think they're above the law and have a right over you and get on power trips and beat their wives and go on steroids and all the usual stuff that surveys have found in recent years. Again, they think they have the moral high ground. They are known to plant guns on people, plant cocaine on people, and this is just an issue with the monopolization of government force rather than private contract, individual demand deciding these things and destroying a small business or a business that would ever try to get away with this kind of nonsense and criminality. As it says, last week, the beginning of an explosive corruption trial involving 8 members of Baltimore's elite gun trace task force reveals that a handful of Baltimore cops allegedly kept fake guns in their patrol cars to plant on innocent people, a failsafe that they could use if they happened to shoot an unarmed suspect, the Baltimore Sun reports. Detective Maurice Ward, who's already pleaded guilty to corruption charges, testified that he and his partners were told to carry the replicas and BB guns in case we accidentally hit somebody or got into a shootout, so we could plant them. The directive allegedly came from the team sergeant, Wayne Jenkins, the Washington Post reports. The Ward didn't say whether or not the tactic was ever used. Detective Marcus Taylor, another cop swept up in the scandal, was carrying a fake gun almost identical to his service weapon when he was arrested last year, according to The Sun. The revelation is just is just one of many egregious abuses that have come out of the sprawling trial that The Sun has called Baltimore's biggest police corruption scandal in memory. Prosecutors say the squad, which was tasked with getting illegal guns off the streets, abused its power by robbing suspects and innocent people, raiding homes without warrants, and selling confiscated drugs, among other crimes. Guys, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Government is an organized crime racket. It's bigger than an organized crime racket. More criminal, more death toll, just creating order out of chaos as it continues. But the BB gun testimony is particularly disturbing in light of 12-year-old Tamir Rice's death in 2014. The 13-year-old Baltimore, who was shot twice by cops in 2016 after he allegedly sprinted from them with a replica gun in his hand, and the 86 people fatally shot by police in 2015 and 2016 who were spotted carrying toy guns. Who else is completely freaking disgusted by this? 6 of the 8 task force members charged in the corruption scandal have pleaded guilty to racketeering charges, but Taylor and Detective Daniel Hersel have pleaded not guilty. They're currently on trial while several of their former partners testify against them. It makes sense that the places with the biggest government have the most violence, the most criminality, because government is organized crime and they're probably working with the street gangs. They take away good people's guns. The black market flourishes. You have bad people with guns. And then on top of that, let's mix this in with the debt dependency and the dependency in general, because the government's goal is to make people stupid and dependent and desperate. It's one of the greatest benefits of the state is to push people into further servitude. And guess what? Taking away people's guns, creating divide and conquer in the media and propagating people and indoctrinating people to hate each other for the color of their skin. Whether it's black people hating white people hating black people, regardless of which side it's looked at, it's all part of that divide and conquer agenda to get people to clash against each other instead of looking at the real enemy, the state, which is deep-sixing people's lives, ripping people apart, pushing them into poverty, pushing them into dependence, sacrificing them as pawns for the king and the queen. This is criminal. This is fraud. This is disgusting, violent, criminal activity, and the government is a MVP of murder on this planet, killing hundreds of millions of people in the last century, shoving people into cages after kidnapping them for victimless crimes, complete nonsense, complete organized crime cartels, arming and funding gangs and cartels, running guns to them, creating the problem of the drug war, etc., arming terrorists and funding them, and then going out and using that as a reason to blow up babies, kidnapping people, polluting more than any other industry, and then stealing people's money to pay for pollution while banning hemp and alternatives. It's so disgusting, guys. This is just sickening. And you see cities like Baltimore falling apart at the seams with one scandal after another. At least it's being exposed, but still. You have this culture of dependency, which they're pushing on African Americans, which, look, we are not hearing enough stories about the white people that are getting killed by cops. But with that said, the reason we're hearing more about the black people getting killed by cops is because, first of all, it is a trend in many places, not necessarily everywhere, but in many places. And then on top of that, they can use that to divide people afterwards. What we see in the news and what we're privy to, the information we're privy to create more divide. Black and white, right? It's all about clashing people against each other. And then, they sacrifice us as pawns for the king and the queen. We need to rise up as individuals, regardless of skin color, regardless of this divide that they've tried to bestow upon the populace, and be independent and responsible for our own lives. Disobey, reject these criminals. Don't elect a new person. Electing a new person, replacing the boss with another boss over your life. Good ideas do not require force, guys. You cannot tell your neighbor how to live. You cannot force your neighbor to live a certain way at the point of a gun with threat of prison and further extortion or death. It is sick, it's immoral, it's illogical. And it's been perpetuated for far too long, going back to ancient Greece. It's normalized via an incremental frog boil to complete technocracy, complete collectivism. For the greater good of the greater number, as the Orwellian state says, as they slowly but surely crack down on your individual liberties. Left, right, Pepsi, Coke, violent coercion against the masses, destruction of free will and individual liberty, pushing you into dependence rather than responsibility so that you cannot defend yourself. You cannot defend your viewpoints. You have to walk on eggshells. You're scared to talk. You're complacent with a system and apathetic in your comfort for enslavement. Because it's easier that way, isn't it? It's not. If just 1% of us disobeyed, the whole system would collapse. Freedom comes from within. From within here. Not from the state. The freedom cannot be given to you by the state. They can only take it away. But here we have Baltimore mayor on the run, getting her house broken into by the king thieves IRS and, criminal FBI, while at the same time being a criminal herself. The whole system is falling apart at the seams, and now is a better chance than ever to break free as free individuals. Non-violently, peacefully break free from that system and use the technology. There's decentralized, properly, fundamentally useful blockchain technology infrastructure that we could use to replace the system, break free from the banking system, which prints vast amount of currency out of thin air and charges you the interest on the debt, which rips us apart, causes the price of living to go up, and then they're like, oh, but we need to raise minimum wage. No, it just goes in a circle perpetually forever. Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, repeat. Are you going to be one of the casualties of this massively destructive, disgusting criminal system? Or are you going to stand up as a free human, free individual? And be a good representation of freedom for the children that come after you, for your grandchildren, for the world that you live in. Are you going to go out of this world leaving it a better place than you entered it? Or are you going to be complacent to this incremental frog boil to complete enslavement as Nero plays his fiddle and Rome burns? That's up to you. Anyway, until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth. Be the change.
Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so heavily demonetized and censored by YouTube as these guys come in and flag all of our content as hate speech. The shadow banning is getting really bad, guys. Also, check our Bitcoin address right here on the screen or in the description below. We really appreciate it. And of course, check us out at the Red Pill Expo 2019. Of course, the great G. Edward Griffin and so many other incredible speakers will be there. Our link for that is below as well. And we cannot forget Mike Maloney's goldsilver.com, which you can also find in the description. One of the greatest market and monetary historians out there. We really encourage everyone to check that out. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.